Chris Patrick here with Path MEGAzine. I have with me the only Damita. Damita, how you doing?
I'm great. I am absolutely fabulous and wonderful.
Well, you sound great. I'm so excited for you. There's so much good news that's going on in your life right now. You got married recently, and God actually restored you coming out of another situation. You were married, as many know, to Deitrick Haddon, and it was marred by claims of infidelity. Things were said. Deitrick came out with statements in a so-called love triangle, but nobody heard from you, and you remained quiet. Can you tell us about who cheated on you and why you remained silent?
This is what I do say. And you know what I'm saying, I don't want to play the blame game, because you know what I'm saying, he could say, oh, you cheated, and I could say, oh, he cheated, and who did what, or who did first, and who did that. All I say is that in marriages, all kind of things happen in your marriage. At the end of the day, you have to forgive and keep it moving. There are things that were said that he put out there on social media, and it's no secret, and I have no problem talking about it now. And the reason why I didn't at that time, when people don't understand that when you're going through a divorce and you're going through something like that, it's not easy. It's different if you've been married a year or two. But me and Deitrick have history going back from just first of all beyond the 15 years of us being married. But we had been together since we were 15 or 16 years old, meaning that I really didn't date anybody outside of that. I mean, I went straight out of being a teenager into marrying this man. And and so you could just about imagine we've been through everything. Everything that you could possibly think of. We've been together since we were 15 years old. and that's a long time. So, you know, just I wasn't able to, with neither one of us, experience adulthood away from each other. Of course, you know, you if you date or you see other people or you make mess ups and this, that, or the other. But in this instance, all I'm going to say is that truth with deception is not a whole truth. Without deception is not a whole truth. Meaning that if someone says that you did something, if it was done 15 years ago, but now you're bringing it up, in the year that you've gotten yourself in a crisis, it's really not the full truth. And the reason why I did not say anything is because at the end of the day, our ministry and what we've done have affected so many people's lives. And at that point in that time, if I was to say anything, Chris, to be honest, it would have been horrible. You know what I'm saying? Because all I could have done was if I was to defend myself, it would be dirt slinging. It would be more mud. And at the end of the day, it hurts more people than help people. I feel like if what I'm saying is going to hurt people, and I call myself a believer or a Christian, how is that helping the church? You know what I'm saying? How is that helping anybody? If I'm saying, what I said, if I'm coming out and I'm unleashing, what really happened, and it's damaging to me, I feel like at that point in that time, nobody should have been addressed, and nobody should have been brought into any situation, whether it was him and him going out and having a child while he was married, or whatever the situation was. I feel like if it's not my family, that families coming together. When families have an issue, we come together, we deal with it, and it's not keeping it a secret. It's just my personal preference of being private, and I've always been a private person, and we've always handled our issues or whatever situations that we've dealt with in life, like every other couple out here that's doing now in the industry. You don't hear anything about what's going on in their home or whatever. They work things out behind closed doors. It should have been handled behind closed doors. And if you ask me, could the marriage have been saved? Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. But it takes two people.
Did y'all try?
That word.
Did y'all try to save it?
It takes two people.
Did y'all try to save it?
You know what? I would say I try to do things the way, I was taught as the Christian way. But you know what, honestly, Chris, I think that he had gotten himself in a situation and he didn't, and he didn't know how to get out of it. So the only thing that he could do is play a blame game at that time. And this is not to fight him, and this is not to, but you know what I'm saying? But people, when you've been in a situation where you have never been in this type of situation before, you just panic and you do, it's called self-preservation. And I think he just tried to save himself by throwing, by throwing me under
the bus.
by throwing me under a bus. But what happened was it backfired, and what happened was little truth started coming out, and people started coming out and talking and saying, "Hey, no, this isn't how it happened. He did this. He cheated on his wife. Da 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 da." And so my thing is, when if two people's hands are dirty, it behooves you not to throw stones, or your stuff will come out in the wash. And I say all of this not to sling dirt, because I'm not a dirt slinger, and I'm not a mud slinger, and I don't hit below the belt, and I don't play dirty, and that's why I chose to remain silent, because what good is it for me to point out your flaws when I have flaws myself? You know what I'm saying? If you got bones in your closet and you try to open up mine, it's like, are you crazy? And so my thing was, I've always extended mercy. I've always extended grace. I've always extended forgiveness in the matter. And I still choose to. My thing is, good God Almighty, if I revealed everything that happened in my life and in my marriage, a whole bunch of people, they wouldn't understand, especially those that have never been in a marriage, or those that have never been in a situation where you've been hurt before. You won't understand it. So I choose to still use discretion on what I disclose. Why? Because I still have a music ministry, and I still have fans and supporters out there that are still hurt by the situation of him and I being broke up, as well as the things that he said about me or disclosed about me. It hurt a lot of people.
We got the feeling that some of what Deitrick was saying was true, but we also got the feeling that there were some gray areas, and one of those areas that I always wondered about was in 2011. When he says you guys were going through a divorce and going through the process of the divorce, when he met his now wife, Dominique, and got her pregnant, that he was not with you and that he was going through a divorce at that time. So does that timeline match up to what he's talking about?
It does not. It does not. Nobody's stupid. We're especially people that have been married before or been in relationships. The process of, divorce takes time. And we were pastoring, you know what I'm saying, in the state of Michigan, in Michigan and Detroit, which is our hometown. And anybody knows in a situation, if I was going through anything in my marriage, which nothing was going wrong in our marriage, so I'm just putting that out there. We weren't bickering. There was no at this time there was no infidelity. There was nothing going on in our marriage. We were happily, successfully pastoring a church in Detroit for 2 years that was growing at an enormous rate. It was the month of we separated. Well, he left in the month of June of 2011. The day before, let me see, it was around the BET I'm not sure whether it was Celebration of Gospel or something like that, but my mom died the day after, he left 2 days after I buried my mom. Wow. Until that time, whatever issues or argument or beef that we had, like marriages do, or disagreements that we had been squashed after my mom died. And so I was under I wasn't under the impression at all that he was going anywhere. But 2 days after I buried my mom, he came home and left. And then next thing I know, there's somebody pregnant. Now, that don't add up. You know what I'm saying? And you don't just sleep with a random stranger and get them pregnant. So, you know what I'm saying? Chris, come on now. That lets you know that
he was talking to
this
her
person. And I'm married to you for 15 years, and I don't know who she is. So, obviously, there was something going on. And anybody that's been married, male or female, you know the game. You know that good and possible that if there's somebody in your spouse's life that ends up pregnant, whether it's the male or the female or whatever, and you don't know this other person, that obviously there was a relationship going on while you were married, and especially if you don't know. It'd be different if I was like, oh yeah, that's Dominique, I knew her and she's a snake in the grass. No, this was a strange young girl. And you know what I'm saying. So it doesn't add up when you do the math. And what was really crazy was that what I'm saying, the church our church people, our congregation could see through this, because there were statements that were made over the pulpit. And the reason why I can address this is because there were a lot of statements that were said over the pulpit to our congregation. That was that blatantly in the pulpit that was said that, Pastor Damita and Pastor Deitrick are separated, and the statement in the pulpit was it was not because of infidelity. Now this was said out of his own mouth, out of his mouth. So now we're turning around and saying that it is. So now which one is it? Because you tell the church that it's not infidelity, but then you turn around and tell social media that it is. So a lot of things didn't add up, and at that time, as a woman, we have intuition, and I knew I was trying to figure out what would make a man leave all of this, leave his church, leave his wife, and I was saying to myself, in my intuition, I ain't gonna say it was the Holy Ghost and it was God. It was a woman's intuition. I said somebody's pregnant. Mm-hmm. I didn't know at that time, and this was back in June of 2011. I didn't know, but something in me said somebody's pregnant. And in December of 2011, I had the confirmation. I got the confirmation that somebody was pregnant. Now that just does not happen within that amount of time that you would, so. But be that as it may, I just felt like it was just the pressure of him knowing that he had made this mistake and did not know how to handle it. And so the best thing to do is what? To retreat and to retreat, to run, to hide, to just give in to the thing and the shame and the embarrassment of what had happened, and the best thing to do would be to throw me under the bus because he's getting all the flack for it, and nobody, and I'm not getting the flack, and you're out there in the open, just dealing with all these emotions, and so and I'm not making no excuse for him at all, because at that time I was hurt, I was dying inside. Here it is, I've lost two people in my life. My mother died, and my marriage is dying. So at that time, Chris, I could not rebuttal or say anything because I didn't have the strength to emotionally. You know what I'm saying? Like, who could be at that place where you're ready to fight and you're ready to defend yourself? Heck no. I'm dealing with the death of two people. Life. Most of all, my mother, my best friend, who I talked to about everything and could not speak to because she's gone. So here I am still pastoring the church while this man has left me, and I'm trying to be strong for the people and strong for the saints and strong for myself and strong for my family and strong for this, and trying to keep it on and thinking that it's going to come back together and we'll get through this, and maybe this is a lie that nobody's pregnant or this, that, the other, and da-da-da. Word is coming back from L.A. that he's been seen in the street. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, I could not do anything, but be that as it may, life happens. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the first person to go through divorce, and certainly I won't be the last gospel artist that's going to go through divorce. And so I just had to learn how to cope with it and learn how to come to the grips and come to reality and not be deceptive. I hoped for the best, but the worst happened, and I had to come to grips that, Damita, you got to pick up. You got to live. You have to live. You got to live.
I got you.
I did what was best for me. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't fight. I didn't have the strength. But, eventually, thank God I had people that was around me. I went through hell those 2 years of having to go through the shame of social media and, all of this and accusations and all of this carrying on. But, but I found some way. I could truly say that it was God that helped me to say, you know what? You're going to be better than you were before. You're going to be, and now I'm a much wiser woman. I'm a much smarter woman. I'm a much loving woman. I'm talking about in every area. So now I know how to treat this man that's in my life. I know how to treat him. I know how to go about. I know the signs. I know what to look for. I know, what I'm saying? What do they say? Experience is the best teacher. Oh yeah. I've got some experience under my belt, and now I really know what I'm doing now. I thought I knew what I was doing then, but I really know what I'm doing now.
You and Deitrick didn't have children, right? Is that correct?
Absolutely. Okay. No, we did not. We did not have any children that that came into the earth. You know what I'm saying? I've been pregnant multiple times, but had a lot of complications and almost died during one. And so at the end of the day, what I'm saying, that was a big thing, and that was a huge dagger in my heart. You know what I'm saying? For a woman to be like, what I'm saying, you struggle with having children, not being able to carry children full term, and then here it is. You know what I'm saying? Your husband goes out and gets someone else pregnant, and for me, that was just the dagger. That was the nail in the coffin.
Chris Patrick here with Damita on Path MEGAzine. Damita, when was the last time that you spoke with Deitrick Haddon.
Let me see. The last time I spoke with him probably was last year. It was probably last year sometime, and it was on on a good note. I'm not sure what it was about. It was probably about some things that we had in storage, or whatever, some things like that, trying to figure out what to do with them and that so forth and all of that. But I don't think that I don't think at this point or this time that I'm not his enemy. That's for sure. I'm not his enemy, but I'm not his best friend. Meaning that he's moved on with his life. I've moved on with my life. We don't have children. Anything that would obligate us to stay in communication. I love him with the love of the Lord. As a believer, I would never treat him bad, or be like, I ain't talking to you, because it shows that you're still not over that. Or I'm over it. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. God delivered me, and He healed me completely of all that, and I prayed for that. I didn't want the angry black woman syndrome. And I was like, cause it's unnecessary. What happened has happened. It's life. It's sad. It happened, but you got to move on with life. And so at this point, if I seen him in public or whatever, definitely, me and my husband would definitely speak with him. Hey, what's up? And keep it moving. Keep it moving.
Yeah, tell us about present day now. He's got Preachers of LA. He's one of the reality TV stars of the show Preachers of LA. How do you feel about the show?
I really don't feel any way about the show. It's I've only seen like 2 episodes out of it. Outside of that, I pretty much didn't watch it. My attorneys watched it just to make sure, if we needed to address anything further, any more, anything else that we would have taken action. So I was, by my attorneys or whatever, everything was fine, everything was cool. It didn't have to get ugly, and so I think, hey, he out there trying to hustle and make money. And if you got to do it that way, by doing that, by all means, do you. So I think that's pretty much what it is. Because at the end of the day, it's not really fully. TV is never really full reality. They make up stuff to make it juicy, to get them ratings and get them numbers and get viewers and get people to watch or whatnot. And so I say, hey, go for it. Just leave me out of it. Keep moving. Keep it moving.
Mm-hmm. Keep my name out of your mouth now.
Yeah. Or send me a check. My thing is, if you're gonna use my name and you're gonna talk about it on TV, send me a check. I don't. At the end of the day, if I'm gonna be the topic of the show, send me a check.
Now I'm interested to hear about your current relationship, your current marriage, because I haven't heard much of you telling the story about how you and Ruben met and all that stuff. So tell us how you and Ruben met. Ruben's a photographer, right?
Yes.
So tell us about that. How'd you guys meet?
Well, we met about 13, 14 years ago in Tampa, Florida, when I was living there about 13 and a half or 14 years ago. And he worked we worked at the church, and he came on staff as our photographer at the ministry that we were working at that time. So at that time, he was married. At that time, I was married, and there was no foul play whatsoever. It was a great time of all of our lives. At that time, the ministry was amazing. It was booming. We were the youth pastors there, me and Deitrick, and he worked on staff, him and his family. And it was amazing. It was like a family affair. It was. And so after Deitrick and I had moved and left Florida after serving at the ministry there, we had pretty much, that was it. Everybody, we had disconnected and lost contact. Well, I wouldn't say lost contact, but everybody moved on. They stayed there. Me and Deitrick came to Atlanta and settled here. And so pretty much we hadn't been in contact since prior to us being in Florida, all of us being in Florida. And so last year, 2013, which I was well already divorced and whatnot. some kind of way. I don't even know. We were on social media. I think it was Facebook or something, and he commented on something, or I commented on something. And we were like, hey, what's going on? Yada, yada. Hey, catch up. Hey, I haven't seen you in a long time. And he was asking, what was I up to? And, talking about a photo shoot, about doing a photo shoot for me or whatever. And we kind of laughed about me never doing a photo shoot, with him. And he had said that he was going to be in Atlanta doing some work soon on the following week. And I was like, I live in Atlanta. He was like, what? I'm going to be there, yada, yada. And I love having parties and cookouts and stuff, and I was having one that weekend. And so I was like, well, come on by, come on by my house for the cookout. And he came over and met my friends and family, this, that, and the other, and we chopped it up and sat down and was laughing and just catching up. He talked about my divorce or whatever, and I asked him about his family because I assumed that he was still married, and asked him about his family or whatever, and he said he had been divorced for 6 years. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
So, we kind of played catch up or whatever on about that, and the night went on. Everybody, we ate, we had fun, and he had left or whatever. The following week he had family, so he was staying with his aunt, and so the following week, a couple of weeks later, he was coming back. He said, hey, I'm coming back in town, yada, yada, yada. I said, well, you know how we do it here. We cook, whatever. So we did a plan to big another cookout or whatever. And he came by. And, that's how we pretty much started dating without saying that we were dating. And we just laughed or whatever. And he kept coming back. We started going to the movies. And, it didn't last long at all because we, and on Christmas, around Christmas Eve, he was like, the week before, he was like, I'm tired of going back, because he was in Alabama. He was like, I'm tired of going back and forth. I really love you. I'm digging you, da, 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 da. And I'm kind of just quiet, sitting there, like, in my mind, I'm saying, is this too fast? Is this a rebound? Is this too early? Am I ready for this? Am I da, da, da? He was like, well, I'm telling you now, I'm going to marry you. And I was just like in shock. I was like, okay, whatever. This man talking junk.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas Eve of last year, he went to my dad and asked my dad, told him and said, I love this woman. I want to marry her. My dad said, marry her. Next thing you know, he had a ring.
Wow, that's so romantic.
We were planning a wedding. Yeah, we were planning a wedding, and it went super duper fast. And we talked over everything, over every issue. We put everything, all our cards out on the table, and just about relationships, our thoughts, our concepts. Our perspective, being honest, what we felt about, how we would deal with, situations. And, so him understanding, I felt it was just great compatibility of him going through a divorce and knowing the pain and the struggle of what divorce causes, and me knowing what divorce causes, and him coming from a background of being a PK and me being a PK, and we just understand of being out in this media, of him being around people and being around people of the opposite sex, and him knowing of me being around people and, of the workplace, and we know how people are, of how we deal with situations, and just saying, hey, we don't want to play games. We don't want to run games. We want to be with each other. We don't want to cause anybody harm or hurt in situations. So let's be grown and let's be adult. If we're not, and we came to those grips. And was honest about games and stuff. And he was like, I ain't trying to play no games out here. I'm done. I've played that. I've done that. Blah blah blah. And I was like, man, I feel that. If you honest about this and da da da, let's do this.
Yeah, it seems like you guys are on the same path there. Chris Patrick here with Path MEGAzine, here with Damita, and Damita's telling us about her new boo, Ruben. His last name's Chandler, right?
Oh, he's so sexy. Oh my God.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. Y'all took some beautiful pictures. Now, how did you end up getting, Donnie McClurkin to officiate the wedding?
Well, Pastor Donnie is my big brother. I've been knowing Pastor Donnie for a long, in Detroit, we know everybody. All the gospel artists were like family. Donnie used to live in Detroit, and he used to serve over at Pastor Marvin L. Winans Church. But not only that, we were neighbors. We were neighbors for years, and I've spent time over his house, and we spent time, together. Pastor Donnie would come out and clean my car. We prayed together. We cried together. We swapped stories. We sat down and just chilled on Saturdays, eating cereal and watching cartoons. So, so that'll never change. But not only that, my husband's from New York, and Pastor Donnie's originally from New York. So my husband's family and Pastor Donnie's family, they grew up together. So he's, all he knows is Pastor Donnie as an uncle. And so, we were just trying to figure out, and we was like, hey, we called him, and he said yes, and I mean, the wedding was amazing. I mean, Pastor Donnie cried. There was not a dry eye in the place. It was we did it very small and intimate as possible. Tried to not make it a media frenzy, and we didn't tell anybody who was officiating the wedding because we didn't want it to be about, you know what I'm saying, it's not about, it was about this moment of us celebrating, of coming through, then both of us being hurt, to two people being hurt, to two people coming in love, falling in love and coming together and finding each other, and God bringing us, two people back into each other's lives. Because you couldn't have told me in a million years I would ever be married to this man, and vice versa, whoever would. We still to this day be like, can you believe that we're married, that we met 13 years ago, and now we're married? Like, we weren't even thinking about, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just weird. It's really weird.
Well, tell us about what you have coming up. What's next for you, and are you continuing in music?
I am. I just decided, I pretty much had taken a hiatus, but now, I'm actually currently working on some brand new music in the studio, working with some great producers. Vaughn Phoenix is one of my main producers he's produced Tasha Cobbs, and he does a lot of stuff on he's Grammy award winning producer. He's amazing, and he's doing some stuff with me, and we're doing it on local. They're really trying to get me to do something live, but Chris, I don't know. Everybody wants me to do something live, but I'm kind of just like, man, can I pull it off? So we're kind of still debating between that, but we're in the studio doing some work now, and working on some TV stuff, my own self, and we'll be releasing some things in the media soon about some television opportunities as well for me.
How can we support you? Did you just forego social media as a whole? Are you still on social media? How can we follow and support you?
Damita Chandler is alive and well on social media. Everything has changed. My name is not hyphenated. It is Damita Chandler on all CDs. It's always been Damita. It's never been Damita Haddon. So you can still find me on iTunes as Damita, and find me on social media as Damita Chandler, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter, Damita Chandler.